Welcome to the NICU Today Podcast, a podcast to give families a new point of support as they navigate the NICU journey. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcast and share this episode with anyone who might find it helpful. Welcome back to the NICU Today Podcast. Today's episode features Kerri DiDario, Executive Director of the Eastern Pennsylvania Down Syndrome Center and proud mother of three wonderful children, Madison, Macy, and Landon. In 2004, Kerri's firstborn daughter, Madison, arrived 7 weeks premature, which initiated Kerri's deep understanding of the challenges and triumphs associated with NICU experiences. Madison's premature birth led to a journey of raising a medically complex child and planning for Madison's future as an adult who will continue to live at home and rely on her family for care. Kerri's NICU journey has profoundly influenced both her personal and professional life, driving her dedication to supporting families navigating similar paths. Welcome, Kerri. We're so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, and I'm excited to talk to you not only about your family's personal NICU journey, but also how this personal experience helped shape the direction of your professional career, which happens for some of us, right?
Yes, I think we can relate, right?
Yes, it changes the direction of our life, right?
It did.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about your family's journey to starting a family.
Sure. So young mom and dad, just experiencing our first birth. My husband and I had only been married a year. We just bought our first house, expecting a baby. All things were super exciting. And out of nowhere, I developed preeclampsia. And Madison was born just a few days after being in the prenatal, intensive care unit. And she was a tiny, shockingly tiny 3 pounds, 3 ounces. Just not anything I had ever seen in my entire life. Certainly have been around my fair share of babies and just never experienced that. Never experienced a NICU, didn't know what a NICU was. It was completely, it was alarming. It was terrifying. It was, we didn't know what to expect.
And so she was born at what week? Gestational week?
33.
33 weeks.
Yeah.
And how long were you in the NICU and what kind of complications did she face during her NICU stay?
We were in the NICU for a short 3 weeks. It feels short now knowing some of the experiences of other families, but for us, it felt like 3 years. And we had a relatively uneventful experience in the NICU, which I know we're very fortunate for that. She had some breathing episodes, some apnea episodes. So we did come home with an apnea monitor. She was, of course, extremely tiny. I think we left the hospital and she was just under 5 pounds or maybe just 5 pounds, just extremely tiny. And, our journey with her medical complications started probably a week after we left the NICU. So we immediately felt like we left the safest place in the world. The NICU was a great place for us. We had an amazing experience. We had an amazing team. Everybody was there to answer all of our questions. And then a week later, we went to a pediatrician for what we thought was, a normal appointment for our first daughter. And we found out that that was not the case.
So, Kerri, you came home from the NICU after 3 weeks and then went to the pediatrician, learned that there were more complications with Madison. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So this is when we really started to hear all of these, scary phrases and things. So her pediatrician was incredibly insightful, and we're very, very fortunate that we caught some of the things that we did because of him. So Madison was, I remember this so clearly. He picked her up and he said, "This baby is floppy." And I said, "I have no idea what that means." And then there were questions. Is she sleeping? "Oh yeah, she sleeps great. She's a great baby. She sleeps 22 hours a day." "Oh no, that's bad." I'm a first-time mom. I'm inexperienced. I thought I have the best baby in the world. We had this traumatic experience, early birth, NICU, come home, she's just sleeping and chill. When in fact, we found out that she had hypotonia, and she had pretty severe hypotonia. So that started our journey. She went for some MRIs, and we did a bunch of testing, and we found something called periventricular leukomalacia, which is a mouthful. But we found out that that was likely a result of her preterm birth. And that meant that the white matter in her brain wasn't completely formed. It wasn't something that was ever going to change or regress, but she likely would have some neurological, conditions because of that. We just didn't know what. So by the time she was 6 months old, we started with physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. We had people in our home. Our life was flipped upside down. We had, I didn't go back to work, but my husband did. We had to rely on family. I was still experiencing some complications from my emergency C-section. So nothing was as we had expected when we had such an amazing NICU journey and came home with these challenges.
Well, I have two questions for you. One, can you tell us what hypotonia is?
Sure. So hypotonia is low muscle tone, and it's not like the kind of tone that you would have from like working out. She can't work out to get more tone. She was just built that way. So when the doctor said she was floppy, it meant that she just couldn't control her muscles. Her body was weak and tired from trying to move.
And two, thank you for sharing this with us. And when you were going through this, I'm sure it's never left you, all those moments, all the days, right? They live with us forever. But when you were shared this news about Madison, it was unexpected for you. How did you get through each day? What helped you to keep going?
Yeah. So I think like a lot of people, we went to the internet. Did as much research as we could. And then I found a community, much like you guys are for NICU families. There wasn't much of that 20 years ago, now that Madison's 20. But we found some, communities. We found some social groups. And then eventually, as, we continued that journey, we landed with the March of Dimes because we found that there were so many other families that had experienced not just a NICU journey, but that were encountering some complications of their NICU journey. And so that's when I built this community and this family around me. And I had an incredibly supportive family, but just to have somebody that had gone through it meant the world to us.
That's wonderful. Yeah. The March of Dimes is such a great resource. We had utilized them as well, for sure. And still are in touch with so many who are actively involved in the March of Dimes. Now, you went on to welcome 2 additional children after you had welcomed Madison. What did that look like for you, having Madison at home and her care, in addition to then having two kids?
Yeah. So Macy followed. Macy's Madison's younger sister. She was born about 3.5 years after Madison. We felt pretty good at that time growing our family because we had this great network. We had both the network from the March Dimes and the other parents, but we also had a network of therapists that were helping us through a lot of our challenges. Madison was getting support through early intervention. So we were getting ready to send her off to preschool, which was also terrifying, but yet exciting. She was doing something that, was normal for a kiddo her age. So when we welcomed Macy, it felt right. It felt like the right thing. And we were very fortunate that we didn't have any complications. Again, I had a great team that followed that. If there was anything that maybe would get us back in the NICU, they would catch it, but we didn't have any issues. And then 7 years later, we welcomed our son, Landon. Again, no issues with his birth. And he was just the missing piece that we needed to complete our family.
I love that. Now, you shared Madison's 20. How is she doing today?
Madison's incredible. She has just inspired my whole family. She is the happiest kid. I have a 16-year-old right now. So my 16-year-old is more of a challenge, but medically we still have a lot on our plate. So since Madison was born and after she went into early intervention, we started to notice some more things. So again, through that network of people that we met, we got a diagnosis of autism. Madison is nonverbal, but again, our team has helped us find some ways to communicate with her like an iPad. So she does tell us everything that she wants, sometimes to the point where just like any other child, it's like, you're just not having that. And our biggest challenge now is that she was diagnosed with epilepsy at 13. So, a lot of these things are likely a result of her being born preterm. And, I don't say that to scare anybody, but we didn't know that was our journey. We had an easy NICU experience compared to a lot of folks, but our challenges really happened after that. But we consider ourselves successful because of the people and the organizations like yours and the March of Dimes and all of those families that now I consider not just friends, but part of my, family.
Yes. And you shared with the intro, we talked about how Madison will rely on care from family for her lifetime. So how did that help to shape kind of your plans as you look ahead, as you and your husband look ahead?
Sure. So I mentioned in the beginning that, we were a young couple. My husband and I met I was 16, he was 18, summer camp, sweethearts. And at that point, you're not thinking about what does your future like. But as soon as Madison was born and we started to experience these challenges, I was 23 when Madison was born. So still relatively young. We immediately started planning, financially. We started with 401ks and saving money for what our future looks like, even though we really didn't know at that time that she would be with us forever. The past couple years, we've had to do things like file for guardianship to make sure that she is cared for both medically and financially if anything happens to us. So we have navigated the waters, I think, in every capacity that you could imagine. She's still in school right now, and we're very fortunate that she can go for another 2 years, but that also has been a challenge and a new network that I needed to learn. And in a couple years, she'll be out in the world. And as parents, we are doing everything in our power to make sure that she has the life that everyone else has, that she's included in school, that she is, has a full-time or has a part-time job, has some programs, has social opportunities. We just want, what everybody else has for her. And I also think it's impacted our children, because I see in them their willingness to, go out and make the world a better place. And there's nothing that can make you prouder as a parent to see your children giving back.
Yes. Yeah. I love hearing that. And listening to you talk about these different chapters and trying to find the resources for school or navigating through 401ks and savings and all of that. For our listeners, anyone who might be going through something similar, trying to plan ahead for the future, what advice do you have for them? Where do they start?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to ask for help. And you can find that help in a lot of places. We found it by, online. We found the March of Dimes because of a billboard. So it is all around you. Look for the organizations that are out there that are willing to do these things, that have the knowledge. So you don't have to teach yourself. You can learn from those other organizations. There are so many. We're so fortunate.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And now your experience that you've had has certainly had an impact on your professional life as well. Tell us about this shift in career to nonprofit work, to helping others.
Yeah.
You got to go that way.
It's just such an incredible accomplishment. And I really credit Madison to that. Again, as a young mom, I was thinking about going to school, but didn't attend school. That went right out the window, and Madison needed most of my time. So I did a couple jobs here and there. And then when I connected with the families at the March of Dimes, I found out there were volunteer opportunities. I was like, this sounds great. I had no experience volunteering at all. Joined a committee. From there was a part-time job, and I said, this is great. I love this. Now I get to work directly with these families and help these families and share my experience with these families. And then I just kind of continued my path, and it just became a passion. It didn't feel like I had a job. So I was with the March of Dimes for about 11 years. and an opportunity presented itself to join the Eastern Pennsylvania Down Syndrome Center. Growing up, I did have an aunt. I have an aunt that's in her 50s that has Down syndrome. Also a helpful experience for me growing up with someone that had, some challenges. And I thought this would be a really good fit. I am blown away when I think back to 5 years ago when I joined the Down Syndrome Center, at all they've taught me, all of the education challenges, all of the financial challenges that we envisioned for ourselves have become so much easier because there are people out there that have navigated these waters. And I am so fortunate to now be someone in that position that can share my experience and hopefully help someone make their life a little bit easier.
Well, and tell us a little bit what the Down Syndrome Center offers. So if our listeners are interested in learning more about your resources, what's available?
Yeah. So, there's a fantastic connection between my experience and a lot of our families that have a child with Down syndrome. Now with medical technology, a lot of them are getting an advanced diagnosis, but there is likely to be a NICU stay. So we're there to help them answer questions when they are expecting. We have a fantastic new parents program that provides some resources in paper form and some congratulations in the form of goodies and onesies and things that you just maybe aren't getting when you get a diagnosis like this, or you're just afraid, So we're there to help with that and then follow them through the lifespan of the child. So we offer some programs where we can do social events. We're there to help with educational advocacy if there's challenges in the education, process. And then when they're older, we want to get them out into the community. So we've done some really fun things like tour some local businesses to teach them that these are jobs that are out there that you maybe haven't thought of. So all about providing inclusion, all about providing acceptance, and then advocating for these individuals and individuals like Madison, who deserve to have the life that the rest of us do.
Absolutely. Help them to be the best they can be, right? That's what we say about, that's one of our favorite lines to say, because every child's best is different. And we need to help every child to be the best that they can be. We say that so frequently. Can you give us the website for the Eastern Pennsylvania Down Syndrome Center?
Sure. So very simple. The acronym for our center is EPDSC. So www.epdsc.net.
.net. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. I have one last question for you here, Kerri. When you think back on your NICU journey, and you can even, I know a lot of your journey was post NICU, what is the biggest piece of advice that you have for families listening today?
Trust your gut. You're the only one experiencing this. So if there's something doesn't feel right, or you don't agree with something, you're the parent, your child the best.
Love this. Thank you so much for being with us on the NICU Today podcast. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing more about the resources available at EPDSC, and really appreciate you being a guest today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for everything that you guys do.
Thanks. Thank you for tuning in to the NICU Today podcast, brought to you by Today is a Good Day. Learn more at todayisagoodday.org.